How's it going, guys? How's it going? I'm hoping the connection's all right. I'm having a bit of problem with my connection at the moment, so I'm hoping I'm coming through all right and my mic is working and you can hear me. Hello, who's ever joined? Thank you. I hope I'm coming through all right. I'm having a few connection issues before I started, so I hope I'm coming through all right. Clear, you can hear me. Mic's working, I'm hoping. Thanks for joining. I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes to see if anybody else jumps in. Evening, everybody. People that have jumped in, thank you for joining. Can you see me all right? Can you hear me all right? Because I did have some connection issues. Who's watching? What you vaping on? What you been doing? Hi, Kerplop. Thanks for coming in, my friend. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining. Just going to wait a couple of minutes, see who else jumps in. So thank you, everybody that's joined in. Can you comment who's watching? And then we'll start getting started. I'm vaping on last week's build, the Glass V2, on the Zenith Maxo from iJoy, still vaping that. Birdman, thanks for joining, mate. Appreciate you coming in. Yeah, we've had the grandkids as well, so you know it has been hectic here as well. This is kicking out, guys. Still enjoying it. I am vaping on some of my G14 classified juice. Just get this up there, which is this stuff that I can't talk about. So agenda tonight is I'm going to obviously show people what I'm going to be building on. I'm going to make a coil and then put it on a device, have a vape, got a drink as well. I've got a couple, but about half midway, we'll have a break and I'll go grab me other drink and have a quick toilet break. So the coil that I'm wanting to build today is a 2-core Alien for this build deck in particular. We're going back around about 9 years with this tank, well, this RTA. Neil Pitts, welcome. Leander, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining. Well, hopefully I won't have to plan it too early and it comes when I want it to come, Birdie. Right, we'll get started. So, got a drink tonight. I've got a chocolate porter, Cocoa Wonderland from Thornbridge. It's 6.8%. Unfortunately, it does, Birdie. So I'm going to crack this open. Just using my glass, nothing special. Just my favourite glass that I use for my streams. Let's have a pour. So this isn't a stout, this is a porter. I think I have had this one before. But if you follow me on social media, you'll probably seen the drinks that I've got for the next couple of builds. But yeah, that's it. How old am I, Birdie? I am 42. 42? 41, 42. I think I'm 42. So cheers, guys, everybody that's joined. Big shout out to the hashtag replay crew. Cheers, guys. Gonna have a sip. Oh yeah, yeah. I've definitely had that one before. That one's nice. Very chocolatey. So I'm going to pair it with this one that I've got last week's build. If you didn't catch last week's build, go check it out. It's the video before, and that's got that G14 classified juice in. Yeah, I know I'm still a baby, but even my bladder plays up sometimes. Hell yeah. Brings out the creaminess in this juice that I've got here and makes it like chocolatey creamy. So I'm working with one camera, guys, which is my phone, so I will be moving my phone about. So let's get moved and I'll show you what we're building on tonight. So like I say, we're going back around about 9 years and we'll get going. Kyle, thanks for joining. There we are. Just my camera so you can see me a lot better. There we are, that's a bit better. Just my chair about. Right. So guys, thanks for joining. I am looking at different monitors so I can keep an eye on the chat. So let's get going. So this one, smock. We're talking about smock. So this is the Smock TF RDTA. Now this came out after the TF-V4, if you remember the TF-V4. So the TF-V4 was a normal sub-album tank that took pre-made coils. Did eventually come out with an RTA section to build on. But then they brought out this one, and they did bring out another one, which I do have, because they brought out a TF RDTA. And then this was the other one that they brought out, which was the Smock RTA, which is slightly different. So that might be good for a different build stream, because that's a totally different deck in that. So you're looking at about 24.5 millimeters in diameter. The pin doesn't protrude, so I won't be using it on a Mac. I'll be using it on a regulated device, but designed by Smock. So this is where the swivel top as well came from. Can't remember if it was Smock that did the first swivel top. 510 drip tip, not 810. And I can't remember the capacity of this. I think it was either 5 or 6 mils at the time. Quad airflow. You've got 4 airflow channels. No stop. It just spins. But whatever you adjust will be the same all across the board. This did have juice flow control as well, just there. So I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there's that little divot there inside the tank, just there. And that corresponds with your lock-in and your opening of your juice flow. Trying to get it so the light doesn't shine on it. So that unlocks and locks your juice flow. Yeah, that's true. That's why you had to make sure that you have a protruding 510, because when hybrids came out, you know, if people didn't know what they were doing, they just whacked that on a hybrid, which you don't want to do. So let's get to the deck. So back then there was one deck that went by storm, which was the Velocity style deck. Like that, which was very popular. Now that is a tidgy bit rusted and corroded there. It is clean. Maybe I could have cleaned it a bit better, but it is clean. So it's a very, very small amount of space. So this is a bit like the aromomizer, where the juice would feed under the deck and up to the wicks, which are those holes just there. And with this one, the RTA was like your normal standard RTA, where it'd wick from the side and not from underneath. But yeah, this RDA back in the day changed it for everybody. Newbie friendly and everything, and it was copied on a lot of RDAs and RTAs for a very, very long time. Yeah, you're telling me. But yeah, that's that. So that is your inner chamber. So it's not conical, designed inside. So as you can see there, those 4 holes on the outer side of that chamber is where your juice feeds down to your deck. And if I just move that there, as you can see, you've got your airflow coming from all angles. So you're getting airflow from directly underneath the coil, and then obviously the post side airflow as well with that. So it does all come together. I don't normally show you what's in the box, but you get your normal stuff, your spare glass, your extra glass, extra O-rings, you got an extra rubber gasket for your top part, just there like that. Yeah, very similar to the Voltrove. And basically that's the tank. So because of the space that I'm working with, I'm wanting to do like a 2.5 mil coil. So like I said, I'm going to do a 2-core Alien 26 gauge with 36. I use that wire a lot because it's my preferred, NI80. But it's a 2-core, so it's slightly different the way you do your D-cores when you're taking away a wire or you're adding a wire. If you're just doing a normal 3-core, you do your D-cores off the same size wire. So let me get set up a bit here so you can see what I'm doing, and we'll get started. So I've got my little table that I use just so my coil is in my eye line of view, I use this drill, the RDA.s Pro drill. Not many people have got these, so if you've just got a normal cordless drill with forward and backwards and low and high speed, you can just use one of them. I'm just using this because it works the same way. I can control the speed forward, backwards, and then also using this core holder here to keep my wires nice and flat and straight. So I'm just going to mount that on there and then clamp it down. I'm just using a normal wood clamp that I got from Screwfix, or is it Tool Station, one of the two, but they're easy accessible. That's just to keep my drill secure to my bench and won't move. So there we are. So I have a swivel, nothing special about my swivel, it's just a vise that you can mount to your table or bench in my case, with a block of wood and a hook, 2 ball bearing swivels. Now I did get this with the RDA.s Pro, but you can get these on eBay or a fishing tackle shop. Only use ball bearing swivels, don't use anything less, because then you're going to have problems. I got 2 there just in case one fails, the other one still spins. So that's my swivel. Right. So, like I say, I'm using my preferred 26 gauge as my cores, a dual core, still an alien, with 36 gauge outer wrap NI80. Now, when you do your D core, because I'm taking a wire away, so how it works is if you're doing a normal 3-core alien, you do your D core off the same size wire as your 3 cores. If you're taking away a wire, you've got to do your D core off a smaller wire, a thinner wire. So every wire you take away, basically you go up 2 gauges for a smaller, obviously a smaller wire to do your D core. When you add a wire, you've got to do your D core off a thicker wire. So for every wire you add, you go down 2 gauges, you do your D core off. So I hope that isn't confusing for you. Let me just check on chat. KJ, thanks for joining, brother. Crackle City. Let's hope I get a bit of crackle from it, KJ. So let me just sort my wires out. It's a soft wire, so I'm just going to do the stretch. You can straighten them out in your chuck of your drill if you want to. So I've just got some wire cutters and some curved pliers with no teeth. It's straight. So I will need these binoculars as well, because I'm blind, and plus it'll help me get a closer view of what I'm doing for consistency and stuff. So I'm going to do 2 wires. I'm going to pull extra wire off just so I've got it, so I've got room to put it in my chuck and obviously my swivel, and if I have to do any trimming or readjusting, I've got extra wire. So just hold it at the end of your wire. NI80, yeah, KJ, NI80. So just hold it very tight, give it a pull. It's very soft wire, NI80, so when you feel a bit of resistance, it'll be nice and straight. So I'm going to cut off 30 centimeters, 300 millimeters, 12 inches if you're American. So I need 2 of them, same length. Now with my wire that I'm going to be doing my D core off, I'm going to need just slightly longer. So this second wire, do exactly the same, give it a little tug, feel a bit of resistance, and it's nice and straight. So I'm just going to measure out exactly the same, 30 centimeters, 300 millimeters, 12 inches. There we are. So that's my 2 core wires. So like I say, because I am taking away a wire, I need to go to a thinner wire to do my D core. So I need to go up to 2 gauges, which is 28 gauge. So got some 28 gauge that I'm going to do my decore off. Just some normal Kenthel wire. And with this one, you're going to need slightly more wire for your decore, because obviously with your stretch, you'll need a bit more decore than the wire than you're going to need, if that makes sense. So I'm going to, again, get it, give it a stretch. It's a thinner wire, so it should do exactly the same. Bit of resistance and you'll feel it. So this core wire here, I'm going to do about 40 centimeters, because like I say, you need slightly extra wire for doing your decore wire on. Let me lock that off. It's the friendly Handy Coil factory in France, KJ. And they're about 21 euros. So depending on where you are, KJ, if you're in the UK, I think it worked out about £27 with postage on there to the UK. And it's a lifesaver, proper lifesaver. It's metal and it has teeth also going that way, so it bites onto your wire. Very good. And there's a little divot in the center for you to keep it nice and straight. Got wiring from last week. So I'm just going to place that there in the divot. I will get you close very soon so you can see what I'm doing once I've got set up. So I'm going to lock that down. So that's why I like extra wire, because obviously wires going in the chuck and then obviously in the swivel. So the US, I don't know what it's going to be like for you in the US, KJ. But give it a look. It's the Handy Coil factory, and it's French. So I'm going to bring my swivel over to lock my wire into my swivel. So let me just swivel that round so you can see what I'm doing just here. So I'm going to stick a nail. Now normally I would stick a nail in there, but I've gone and forgotten again, just to help with the mounting of the wire for the Claptoning. So I've put an L in there. So I'm going to hook that into my swivel, pull in, keeping it tight this way towards my swivel. Then I'm going to fold it over and then twist that round and lock that in. So keeping tension on it, I'm going to pull my vise down and then lock that in. I want enough slack on there. That's just a bit too tight. So that's a bit better. Make sure that your swivels do move easily, which they do. They are still a bit too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to release it a bit and go from there. That's a bit better. And they're moving. Now this doesn't seem to be working at the moment. Let me take it off just a bit. There we are, that's a bit better. And that's a bit more lighter. And they're moving a lot better. So when you are doing your decore part, which is I'm using the thinner wire, the 28 gauge, not the 26 gauge core wires, which I have here, which I'm just going to move out of the way currently. So this is 28 gauge because I've taken a wire away from a normal 3-core alien. So same with any other alien, your decore part, you have to do it the opposite way around to the way you're comfortable wrapping. So I'm comfortable wrapping over the top, so I'm doing my decore Clapton part from underneath. So I like my final rack to be clockwise, so I do my decal anti-clockwise. If you're opposite, you do it the opposite way. If you prefer to roll, do your final rack from underneath, do this part over the top. So just switch it from clockwise to anti-clockwise. It has to be the opposite way. If you do it the same way as you do your final wrap, then it's not going to come out properly. And then you'll probably have to start again and do another decal. So 36 gauge NI80 again. So let me get you closer so you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, they work just as good. Okay, curb plot. But I opted for this one because it's metal, and because I'm going to be using it a lot, obviously I spent that just a little bit extra money doing so. So let me just lock this focus in so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to get myself some ceramic tweezers just to load. Like I said, I didn't put a tail in there, but I'll just use this nut just here. So I want to be doing it anti-clockwise, so I'm wrapping from underneath. So this is just like doing a normal Clapton build. So normal just Clapton. So like I say, I will be wearing these just so I can get a close-up of what I'm doing, and I can check consistency of wraps and so forth. So I'm just going to mount that around that little screw just there. Or I'm going to try and mount it around that screw. So I've locked that in. I'm just going to do a couple of wraps just to lock that in. So as you can see, there is, let me get you in a bit closer if I can. My camera hasn't been playing ball lately, so hopefully I'm get you a bit of a better view. Nope. And as you can see, as I'm doing a live, it doesn't want to play ball at all. You just got to get it just bang on, or the just right distance. There we are, that's a bit better. So, normal Clapton, you want to keep your wire at a 90-degree angle. So this is the part of the build that if you screw up and go back on yourself, you can just reverse, undo it, and then carry on. This is the only time of the build that you can correct going back on yourself. So I'm just going to get this going, and then I'm just going to let it rip. Now, like, I hope my microphone's doing the right thing and drowning out the sound. But basically, all I'm doing is just fractioning this wire. Keep it 90-degree angle. I'm not holding my spool tight because I want this decal wire to move on the core wire. So I'm going to go all the way to the end of this wire. So let me just stop there like that for you. I'll just move you out so you can see a bit better of what I'm doing. Yeah. Take that auto lock off, and then you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to go all the way to the end of this wire. Just keeping it nice and consistent. like I say, if you do go over on yourself or back on yourself, just stop, reverse, take it off, and then just recover from that. So I wear these binoculars for two reasons. My eyesight isn't great, but also I can get right close up and see the consistency of everything that I'm doing. Now this drill isn't fast, but it's a decent enough speed. So like I say, I'm not holding my spool tight, I'm just letting it flow through my fingers very softly, but also keeping it tight enough that it's not going to look inconsistent, the wraps. You want it all consistent, so when it comes to the stretch, you get good stretched decor. So thanks for everybody that is here. To support the channel, you can hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to help out a bit more, there is a buy me a coffee link pinned to the top of the chat, so you can buy me a coffee. Keeps me behind the camera and bringing you great content. If you can't, that's cool. Just sit back, relax and watch. The most important thing is you hit that like button and you subscribe. And you hit that bell notification to all, so you're alerted whenever I upload anything. So I'm going all the way to the end. So when I get to the end and cut it off, it will spring back on itself a little. So that's why you need just slightly a bit more wire than your final wire that you're going to be using. Because obviously you need that slightly extra, and then obviously a bit extra for that recoil that will move back, which you'll see. I'll show you. So you can do this exactly the same way. Vaping Brummy, how we doing, Charles? Thanks for joining, brother. So, like I say, everything looks good at the moment. Nice and consistent. Like I say, not holding the spool tight. It's not too much of a problem if you do hold the spool tight. It's not a problem. The way I'm doing it is just so it moves off the core. If you happen to be practicing and you do hold it too tight and your clapton won't move off the core wire, you can simply do two things, which I'll explain once I get to the end of this wire. It's easier to show you than explain, especially if you're learning as well how to build coils and you're not familiar with the terminology that I'm using and stuff like that. If you're a seasoned vapor or you make your own coils, you probably know what I'm talking about. So that's why I like doing these live. So if anybody has any questions, I can interact with my audience as well. So I'm getting nearly to the end of this wire. So I'm going all the way to the end and I'm going to stop there. So what I'll do is I'll quickly bring you in to show you what I mean. So if I just bring you here, as you can see, I have claptoned all the way to the end. Now, leave a bit of a tail on there. You're going to need it. It's going to help with the stretching part of your wire. So leave a little tail on there. But watch when I cut this, this will recoil back a little. There. So can you see there? So I've lost about, I'd say just over a centimetre just there. So that's why you need a longer piece of decor and just that little bit extra there. Because you will lose a tiny bit and that little bit might make the difference as well. So let me just put that back. So let's have a look. Let me bring you back here so you can see what I'm doing. Let's have another drink. Cheers, guys. I hope you've got something nice to drink. And a vape. So, what I'm talking about is I want this to move. So, can you see how that moves on the center wire? That's why I'm holding it very, very loosely. So what I want to do is same with this end. I want to cut but leave a little bit of leg on there. Get rid of that piece. If you see me throwing stuff underneath my desk, I've got a bin there. I'm not a mucky sod. So a tail on that end. And as you can see, it moves off that decor. If it doesn't move, then opposite side with the bit, just reverse your drill, hold that bit and whiz off. Or you can just keep the drill in the same direction you're doing and spin it and then just slowly slide off. It'll slowly slide off. So let's get this decor detached from what I'm doing. So I'm going to cut it here like so. Then I'm going to very carefully pull my decor, being careful not to snag it in any way, because if you snag it, then that's when you're going to get your imperfections in your wrap. So I'm just going to lay this here until I need it. I'm going to unmount this wire now because I don't need it. It's a smaller wire. It won't get wasted. It'll get used in another build or another stream. So I don't waste the wire that I use for decors that I'm not using. So back to 26 gauge, which is what I have here. Let me get you back in frame here. So 2 pieces of 26 gauge NI80. So what I want to do is I just want to check the length and make sure that they are both level and the same. So this is why I like to have my extra, just in case I need to make any adjustments, any cuts and stuff like that. So make sure that they're next to each other, parallel, and I'm going to mount it into my core holder just here. So make sure I've got plenty of room in there, making sure I am in the center and that divot is in between those wires just there, which is about there. So same if you're doing 2 cores, 3 cores, you want those wires to stay parallel and flat. Now I'm going to be using key rings and a core holder just to help. If you've catched my past couple of streams, I do a lot better this method. Now I'm not saying this method will work for you, but this is what works for me. So this little core holder, you can buy core holders, not metal ones, but this is what came with this kit here, the Daedalus Pro. So I take advantage of having them and I use it. So put that all the way there. I will be putting key rings on again as well. So I'm just going to move my hands down, making sure that they're next to each other and parallel. I'm going to stick an L in it for mounting purposes to my swivel, keeping tension on this way. Sorry, you're out of camera view. Keeping tension on this way. Mayo, thanks for joining, mate. What, the Daedalus Pro is still available? Was that Mayo? Thanks for joining, by the way. Oh, do they? Oh. Oh, the guides. Yeah, you can get guides. They're easy enough to find, guides. But it just helps, especially if you're a new builder. It also helps. Any extra help is good. So I want some tension on it again. I want to make sure that my swivels do spin, which they do. So I want to keep these wires nice and parallel. So I'm using 2 key rings as well, just 2 little key rings like that, just to keep everything straight and parallel. And like I say, this is what works for me, and especially with live builds as well, it helps a lot, keep a lot of consistency. So I'm just putting 1 on the end here, at the end of my swivel. This one I will be putting round this guide. And I know that sounds a bit weird, but yeah, I'll be putting this one around this guide. That'll give me just a little bit of extra flatness with what I'm doing. So let me just quickly remove this decal wire out the way because I don't want to snag it. And what I'll quickly do is so you can see what I'm doing or how I've done it, which is basically like that. That's a lot better. So wires parallel. I've got my guide just in there for extra protection to keep it flat, and then obviously the keyring as well. Now the way I've been doing it in the last couple of streams, in case you haven't catched it, it works a lot better obviously with the alien. Do a little bit, move it along, do a little bit more, move it along, and I can move a little bit quicker as well. So let's get to the stretch. Now, like I say, in all my live streams and stuff, I can't tell you how to stretch this wire. It's something you're just going to have to play around with. You've got to get your stretch perfect or just under stretched. Because at this point, if you overstretch it, then it's game over and you have to do another decal. So try and stretch it exact or understretch it so you have a bit of pinch when you get into this section of the wrap. If you overstretch it at this point, you're going to have to do a completely new decal. So if you're new or getting into doing aliens, the best way I can do it is practice with thicker gauge wire first, which is what I did. Just to get the feel and the technique down before I started with more thinner wires, which is what I'm doing now. So with one of those tails, like I say, a tail, I'm just going to bend it up because I'm going to mount it and then stretch it. Now the way I stretch it, I do it on feel and then also looking through these. You want like a corkscrew sort of look in your stretch. So I'm using these clamps. They're cheap enough, plastic clamps. I've got 3 sizes, and I'm just going to mount this onto this piece of wood here so you can see what I'm doing. You want to make sure that is nicely mounted and tight on there, which it is. So you've got a tail at one end and then a tail at this end as well also. So with this end, let me just get my chair out a bit and prepared for what I'm going to do. So like I say, I cannot tell you how to do this. It's something you're going to have to play with. So play with it, understretch it rather than overstretch it, because then if you overstretch it, you have to start again. If you understretch it, you can pinch it a bit tight when it comes to the wrapping stage. So let's get this stretched. So I'm going to grab the other end or the other tail holding very tight to your pliers. Try not to let go in when you stretch it, and then pull. So like I say, I look for the way it's done. So now be very, very, very careful. So I'm just going to release my pliers because it might swirl a bit. Now you've got to be very, very careful not to snag it. If you snag it, you're going to get imperfections in your wraps. So I've got a carpet. So it has happened before on my stream. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut my tail bit. So that bit of a tail there, so it won't snag on my carpet. And then right. Hopefully I haven't already messed up my decor because I've just dropped my cutters on it. But proof will be in the wrap. So where was I? So just going to cut that tail edge off just so it doesn't snag on my carpet. I'm going to get my decor and put it so I know there's plenty of room where it's going to be coming up to, and it's not going to snag on anything. So that's a stretch. So now you've got to be very, very careful that you don't snag it in any way because it'll just bring imperfections out in your build. So let me get you close again. So you can see what I'm doing. Hopefully this will stay nice and focused for me, which it is. I think it all depends as well on how close my camera is. I've just got to remember the position. So I'm going to release the other end of my clamp. This one still has the tail in there. So I'm just going to mount this end. Just going to move that over in between these wires. I'm just going to quickly pull it apart and load that in. So with my pliers, I'm just going to use it just to nudge it all the way up to there. So bring that a bit over. So at this stage now, you need to obviously do a few wraps to check your check whether you need to have a pinch, whether you've stretched it bang on, or whether you've overstretched it. So your first few wraps, you're just establishing that pinch if you need it, or just letting it flow through your fingers naturally. So if you need a pinch or it needs a bit more stress, obviously increase your pinch like that. And if you need to release it, obviously release the pinch in your wire so it slides through your fingers a lot more. Some people tell you to do this, just twist your hand like that. Now, when I've done that, the wire feeding up to you starts swirling and gets all tangled. So I tend to just keep my hand like this and then increase and decrease my pinch like that, keeping my hand in the same position. So this is not like a normal Clapton, so you don't want to be at a 90-degree angle. You want to be slightly ahead of the game. So slightly away or more towards your swivel. So not at a 90-degree angle, just slightly further than a 90-degree angle like that. So make sure your drill is in the opposite way that you did your decor. So I'm wrapping over the top or clockwise. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to establish whether I need to have a pinch or I have stretched it correctly and I just need to let it feed. But hopefully you will see that obviously in the camera as well, and it'll stay focused. So I'm going to just grab my wire and establish what situation I'm in. So I do need a bit of a pinch. So once you've established your pinch, you need to keep that pinch consistent all the time. You don't want to change it in any way, because then you're going to get imperfections, obviously, in your wire. So as you can tell, I can do this a lot quicker this way, getting up to there. So as you can see, my wraps are nice and consistent, not changing my pinch in any way. Start slowly, establish your groove, and then get going again. So like I say, this way I seem to be able to do it a lot better. So do it a little bit, stop, move across, adjust if you have to. Start slowly, get that groove going again, and get going. So in this situation, if you mess up, you're just going to have to carry on. You can't go back, correct yourself, because your wraps are not going to lay the way it used to be. So let me just move you along. Might as well move you along so you can see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So start off slowly, get your groove going again, and just keep it like that, and keep it consistent. Head of the game slightly, not 90-degree angle. And then I'm going to stop, move along a bit, get my pinch going again, get my groove going. And like I say, keep it consistent, keep the pinch the same. So like I say, this is the way I'm finding it easier for me, especially with the live stream as well. It's a lot better and a lot more consistent for me. So start off slow again, get your groove, keeping your pinch the same, and then going. Making sure to keep it nice and consistent, staying ahead of the game. And try not to make a mistake as well. No, no, that's just colouring. So thanks everybody that has stayed so far. I hope you're enjoying the content. And let's get going again. So get your pinch set, go slowly, get your groove going, and then get going again. So stop again, move that across. So I'm trying to keep you in camera view as well. Like so. So like I say, a little bit at a time, don't rush. If you've catched my other live streams, you know rushing gets you nowhere. So I've messed up just there. So like I say, keep going, you cannot stop, and hopefully you've got enough wire. So let me just have a quick look of actually how much wire I have actually got. So I'm going to stop there because I'm not going to get a coil in what's left of here, and I should have enough for the 2.5 coil, so there's no point me really carrying on. So I'm just going to chop that off there, get rid of that. I was coming to the end of that anyway, so I'm just going to chop that off. I'm going to just pull these little pieces off because I don't want to lose them. So thanks everybody who's here, still here, jumping, dipping in and out and whatnot. I do appreciate it. So let me try and get this nice. So it is very, very hard to see, but I will get you a nice close-up of it as well. So I'm going to just chop it this side. So let me take that auto off. So yeah, it's nice and consistent on there, but you'll get a slightly better look once it's wrapped. So that is a 2-core Alien. So let me get everything out the way. Check for time, just check on a few things, and looks like we're good. So move that out the way, do a little bit of tidying up, get that out the way. And that, thanks for everybody that is stayed and still with me so far. I appreciate all of you. Move that out of the way. So I appreciate the ones that are still here. Cheers, let's have a drink. That is a nice port of that. So let me see if I can get a bit more of a better view of that for you. So yeah, not the best view, but you'll see it a bit more once I've got it wrapped. So I want a 2.5mm wrap for this RTA. So let me just grab a 2.5mm. I'm using my Coil Master jig, which has got all different sizes on just there. So I want a 2.5mm, obviously for deck space as well. It's only small, it's not big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from one end. I want about 5 wraps of this and go from there. If I can get an extra wrap, I will get an extra wrap. It is all twisted, but it's a nice thin wire, so it should come out in the wrap stage. So let me just point you down just a little bit. So coil jig, I don't use the bit that you turn it because it'll just mess your wraps on your coils. So let me see. So I'll start from this end. I want to hold the flat part of the coil against the jig. First wrap is always the trickiest, so make it nice and tight. The first wrap. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I've got 5 wraps just there. I will show you in a minute. I'm going to start from the opposite end. I think I might get 6 wraps out of this. So I'm going to start at this end here. So same again, just flat end against the coiling rod. First wrap is always probably the hardest, the more tightest, so make sure it's nice and tight and even and nice and close. So that's 2, 3, 4 and 5. So I will get 6 wraps out of this, so I'm going to go for a 6 wrap. So I'm just going to quickly pop over to that side. Thanks for everybody that's jumped back in. I appreciate it. And there we are. So we've got 2 coils there. I'm just going to trim that one off there and trim that one off there. Normally I do save these pieces, but that's too small. So that's going to get gone. Right. Let's go in for the close-up. So there we are, 2 core aliens, 26 gauge Ni80 core, 36 gauge wrapped on the outside, nice and consistent wraps there. 2.5mm ID, 6 wraps, and they look nice. Nice and simple and easy. Now, normally I build it first before I show you the mod that I'm using, but because it's going to be a regulated mod, I'm just going to use that to build on. So I'm going to keep hold of my rod for mounting my coils. So with it being a SMOC TFV8, I will be using technically a SMOC product. It is not SMOC, it is Coupor, which is a company that SMOC owned a sister company, a different brand company. So this is the Cooper 200 watt, dual 18650, and this was broken for years, and I managed to fix it with a bit of research, and that's what we're going to be vaping it on. So I'm going to grab some batteries. That's the inside of it. Magnetic doors, very strong magnets on these doors, but it was one of those fidgeters. You'd always be doing that with it, like that. So I used to do that as well. I did used to fidget with it. So I've got some fresh batteries just here, some ODB booby wraps, And these particular batteries, I believe, are Sony. Are these VTC something 5As anyway? So there we are. So it works similar to the X Cube. So 5 clicks turns it on. Welcome. And that was your dial or your reading. Like that. It looks like. So looks like, not memory mode, I want wattage mode. So there we are, back to wattage mode. So we're back to wattage. There we are. We're on max, which is the strength and how it hits. So I've put it to normal hitting. It's because I look after it, KJ. Even though I still use it, most of it I keep it nice and pristine. I always have adjustable 510 thread on there. I mean, on some of them, they don't look pristine, KJ. Some of them were my beta stuff or stuff that I used a lot. Now, if you've been vaping as long as me, as you can see, this tank isn't pristine. But this is like 9 years ago. So these were one of the first big tanks that you could build on and you could run high wattage for it. Smok was known for that with the TFV4 when they came out. Because at that time, you had the Spire Atlantis, the Kanga Subtank Mini, tanks like that, which were just normal sub-ohm tanks that you put normal coils on. And then Smok changed the market completely with it, changed the market. But then after a couple of years, they went silly with all the different tanks, all the different coils and stuff from it. So I'm going to put it on there. That's what I'm going to build it on. So let's bend you down. So as you can see, velocity style deck, which was popular back then. So I believe these are about 1.3-ish millimeter hex size screws. So let's I'm just going to loosen. Am I wrong? Is it bigger? Are the 1.5s? Oh, right. So the 1.5 millimeter Allen screws. So I'm trying to stay in camera view as well. So I'm apologize if I'm not. So like all velocity style decks, you had one post which was positive with a peak insulator, and then the negative, which was obviously milled into the deck as well. So for coils like this with one leg up, one leg down, one leg went into the higher post, one leg went into the lower post. But like I say, back then, if you were getting into building, that was a brilliant deck to come out to learn how to build on. So let's get this mounted. So 2.5 mil. So one leg's going to go through the top, one leg is going to go through the bottom. I'm just going to position it more or less where I want it. And then lock it down. So the one things that people didn't like, obviously, with this sort of setup was also it could mess up your coils because of the way the screw used to mount. Just lock that down, push that in, and then obviously room for manipulation as well. So I use this black Allen key here because it's absolutely precise, 1.5. So that's there like that. So legs come through there, one through the top, one through the bottom. So that's what made it really nice and easy for people to build on, and what people loved about it, about the Velocity style deck. So every company obviously copied. So I'm just going to check that that airflow will be hitting underneath my coil. So that's more or less the position I want it. Just there, like that. So let's mount the other one. So the good thing about this as well is you could put both coils in without the legs conflicting, like the 3-post design decks that we used to have to deal with, which were really, really hard to build on. So same again, I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to get it into position, then lock down those post holes on the coil, like that. And then position it, obviously, bit of room for manipulation as well, moving the coil, getting it centered and whatnot. And then lock that down. So again, yeah, very easy to build on. You could easily position your coils where you wanted them, which I want that a little bit higher, like that. And then obviously not making sure that the coil doesn't hit that outer edge, which I believe doesn't at my angle. It depends at what angle you're looking at it, like that. But the way I'm looking at it head on is where I want to be. So I'm just going to go around and check all my post screws are tight enough and locked down, because obviously I've been pulling, manipulating and stuff like that. So as you can see, the legs are on the outside, so they were easy to snip off as well. They were easy to snip off your legs. Not your actual legs, but the legs of your coil. So, boom. Make sure you've got nothing left over there, touching the deck or anything. Obviously, using a regulated mod, you're going to be fine, because any shorts will tell you. So make sure that's off. Same again. Making sure that you don't cut your coil as well. I suppose that was one thing you had to watch out for with these kind of decks. Like that. So what I'm going to do very, very quickly is just make sure that that goes over, which it does nicely. So the coils are touching the barrel on the inside. That goes on perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this off. Thanks, KJ. Thanks for dropping in. I appreciate it, my brother. Love and respect, and I'll catch you on the next one. So that's where we're at now. Love, my brother. So I'm just going to cancel out my mod so it's to 0. So with this mod, you could do wattage, temp control in different wires, temp control. It went up to 200 watts. So I'm just going to hit the fire button. It'll ask me if it's a new coil, which it is. So have I pressed the wrong one? So let me cancel it out again. So again, is this a new coil? Yes. So there we are. So I did press the wrong button. So as that's sitting now before burning, that is a 0.18 ohm coil. I'm not obviously going to burn it at 70 watts or even 80 watts, but I'll get that down to about 30 watts there. So nice simple display on this one. You've got your battery indicator, your ohms underneath, the strength of the power that's going to hit, and then obviously your wattage there. So let's get these heated up, get all the hot spots out and go from there. So I'm just going to introduce a little bit of heat at a time, keeping everything nice, making sure that I am in camera view. Let's see if I can change this up a bit. Is that a bit better? Just trying to get it to work a bit better. There, we'll go there. Right, so let's introduce some heat slowly. So you want to check for hot spots. So if you're new and you don't understand what hot spots are, they look like little lightning bolts in your coil. And to get them out, you just got to strum and tug at them until they're glowing nice from the inside out. Got some nice colour on there. So I am going to ramp up that power just a little bit. Going to ramp it up to about 45 watts. Get a bit more colour. So we've got a bit of blues in there, some nice colours there. Keep strumming, pulsing and strumming. And eventually any hot spots that are there will come out. Also give it a little pinch as well if you want. Nice clicky buttons as well on this mod. So that didn't take much doing. Just want to make sure that there's no hot spots or anything, which there isn't. So with these slightly older RTAs and RDAs, you might have to go back in there just to see if heating it up has in any way loosened those screws up, which they have. So I'm just going to go down a bit more on there. Not too much where it's going to obviously snap your wire, because that is possible with these older RTAs and RDAs. So let's get some more heat going through this. So they're glowing perfectly, no issues whatsoever. So let me move back out. There we are. And they're heating up nice and evenly. So I'm going to let them cool down. So while they're cooling down, I'm just going to go grab my other beer and go for a quick toilet break, and then give them time to cool down, and we'll get it wicked up and we'll get it wicked up and vaped. So I'm just going to let them cool down, zero out my mod, and I'll be back in a jiffy, guys. Right, let's have a look. So just want to move that, put that on there, and go.
If you don't choose straight, refill and vape all day. This ain't goodbye, just a little break. More bills, more chill, more clouds to make. Max or nights, we keep it lit. Clouds so thick, we never quit. Be back in a jiffy, don't choose straight. Refill and vape all day. This ain't goodbye, just a little break. More bills, more chill, more clouds to make. We twist, it gets more than a day. Call sight, flavor on blast. Living that vape life, building fast.
And I'm back, guys. Thanks for waiting.
If you don't choose straight, refill and vape all day. This ain't goodbye, just a little break. More bills, more chill, more clouds to make.
Thanks for waiting, guys. Got the chat back up. And we're ready to go. So I've got my other beer, drained the main vein, and yes, I did wash my hands. Have another drink. And have a vape. So you guys can still hear me, I hope. Woohoo! Right, guys. So, cotton I'm going to be using is just this cotton I've got at the moment. I've got a good deal with so many packs for so much. But it's alright cotton, it's not the best. I do prefer Muji or Kendo Gold. And I also like Firebolt cotton as well. That's quite good cotton. But this is what I'm currently using at the moment. So, 2.5mm ID coil. I'm just going to change the thickness of my lens. So I don't have to be so close. So let's have a look at what we're dealing with here. Now, I don't know if this is going to be all right or need a bit more. So I don't want to wick it too loose but too much. You know what, that is actually perfect. So you don't need a lot of wick in this. I will be fluffing it out. Not breaking stuff, small scissors. So I will get 2 coils out of this way. So no wastage in any way. So I want it around about the same. So the way you want it is you want it just touching those holes underneath. So where are we? So So if I just move them, so as you saw there on the deck, there's those two holes on each side. You just want your wick just hovering over the top of that. So like I say, I will be thinning it out because obviously I want it to wick good. I want good capillary action. So I'm not going to thin it out too much, but I am going to rough it up, get all the knots out and what have you from the ends of the cotton. Obviously the thicker end I will thin out just a little bit more. Make sure that there's no knots in there. So I'm just going to cut at the end of the deck like that, which if I remember correctly is about right. And you don't want to obviously stuff it into that hole, you just want it laying above that hole. I mean, it doesn't matter if it sticks in there a little bit, it's not the end of the world, you just want it sitting basically on top of that hole. So that's why I want my wicks to be nice and fluffy. So like that. Sorry, I'm trying to stay in camera, so that's just sitting on there like that. I mean, I'll even just pull just slightly. There we are. And again, trying to stay in camera view as well, is chop round about end of the deck. See, small scissors. So I just want just slightly extra off there and off that one as well. So take the excess away. And same again, you just want to obviously tuck it so it's hitting just that little hole basically, just underneath there where the wick is going to feed up to that wick. You just want it hovering over the top. Same with this side, you just want to basically just swoop it, making sure there's no stragglers out the side without pressing the button as well. And I will show you final resistance in a second. And then making sure that leaving plenty of room for airflow underneath the coils. So cancel out my mod again, see where this resistance lies. Yes, this is a new coil. That can't be right. I know that's not right. Right, so I don't know why it's done that, or I might just be wrong, but that resistance does not sound right. But we'll see how it goes. It might fluctuate, or I might just have a problem. So I don't know why, but it is saying it is 0.116 ohms, which I don't know why it's reading that. But let me get some juice on there and see if the resistance changes in any way. So what I'm going to be using for this, for obviously my second drink that I've got. So let me put that up there. So this is the second drink that I've got, which is just here. It's Vault City Strawberry Fields. It's a sour. So the juice I'm going to be pairing with that is Dark Star Scones, which is a really nice vaping juice. Very dense, very scony. Can't explain it any other way. So let's get some juice dripped on here and see what we do. So let me turn that down. So there we are. So we have got vapor. So let me just take this off again. I might be wrong. That might be the right resistance. It's just I wasn't expecting it to be over 1 ohm. So let me lock that in. Cancel that out. Put that back on again. Right, so there is a problem somewhere. I need to check it. Because it's fluctuating the ohms. Right, so where's my tool? Right, it's here somewhere. There it is. I'm just hoping I haven't. So it's not that leg. I'm just trying to check that there's no coil legs or anything on there. Which I can't seem to find. So I apologise, guys. That's nice and tight. That's nice and tight. And that's nice and tight. So let me just check one more thing, which is my 510 at the bottom, which it was loose. That might have been my issue just there. Right. So 510 was a bit loose, so maybe that's why I got that fluctuation there. Let's try it now. So zero out my mod. Pop that back on there like so. Yes, this is a coil, new coil. So there we are, that's a bit better. So 0.18. So check those 510s. So that was the issue just there. Now let me just check to see if it stays the same once I've attached it to the tank. Give it a quick wipe. I did zero out my mod. There we are, press it, yes. And we're the same. So it was that 510. So we're resting at exactly where it was originally. So let me bump that up, back up to, I'll say about 50 watts to begin with. So 50 watts. I even think I can get a little bit more out of that. So let me bump it up to about 60 watts. So 60. Make sure. And that's nice. So I haven't got any fancy 510s. I've just got this glass one that's normally my favourite. So this is what I'll use on the tank, which doesn't sit flat. Have I got a different one? Will that fit? So that one fits a little bit better. Obviously it's not matchy, but I suppose it goes with the mod as well. So let's get this filled up with juice. I want to make sure airflow is closed off. My juice flow is closed off. And let's fill this up. So normal needle nose, you're going to be all right. With these ones, they're going to be a little bit more harder to do. So in cases like this, I do use a syringe. So I'm just going to syringe it in. And this syringe, I think, is about 5 mils. So we'll see how this works in here. So like I say, syringe is about 5 mils. So like I normally would not do. So I think that's slightly more than 5 mils in there, but that's not a problem. Normally, like I say, I don't normally fill the tank up just in case of leaking or anything, but I filled it up. So that's that. Open my juice flow. I'm going to open it up so we've got bubbles feeding down to the deck. I'm going to open up that airflow. I'm going to, yeah, doesn't seem to be any leak in there at the moment. Not much of a crackle, just give it a quick tilt. Yeah, doesn't seem to be leaking in any way. So I'm just going to quickly tidy up and we'll get back to FaceTime and we'll have a proper vape on this and I'll crack up another beer. So thanks to each and every one of you guys. Thank you for watching, for staying, for being patient with me and supporting the channel. Don't forget, hit that like and subscribe. Like and subscribe button helps the channel out. And there is a pinned link at the top to buy me a coffee if you wish to do so. Helps with the channel, keeps me behind the camera also. And anybody that does will get a shout out in the following week's stream also. But I appreciate all of you no matter what. So pop that away. Get all this away. Okay, Blob, thanks for joining, my friend. I appreciate it. Catch you on the next one. Love, my brother. Love and respect. Knocking everything over. There we are. Get everything nice and tidy and done. All right, just making sure that that's still not leaking, the tank. So I do have wires as well, so that's why I'm doing that. Nice wide angle view of my room. Let's get you back to there so you can see me and what I am doing. Do my thing round. There we are. So thanks everybody that is still here. I appreciate it and I love you all. Let's get rid of all this excess wire. So I'll give you a quick look. So that's the RDTA. Probably one of the cons for this tank was obviously when you filled it up and then opened that juice flow. Obviously it didn't look like a full tank, but I think you can lock it off and then obviously refill it. Airflow is open all the way around. 24.5mm diameter, and it's on the Cooper 200 watt, which is also a Smock company. 200 watt Joule 18650 device. So I've got scones in here, the Dark Star scones, and I've got this one, which is my next beer, which is Strawberry Fields. Above the Clouds. Thanks for joining, brother. I appreciate it. So Strawberry Fields, which is from Vault City, which is a modern sour, which I do like sours as well as flavoured stouts. 4.5%, which I think will go well with the Dark Star scones. So let's crack this open and go for the pour. Now, if you follow my social media, you've seen that I've got quite a few, another 2 for next week's stream. One of the other ones that I did, which was the cream soda one, raspberry cream soda I've had before, which is beautiful. But I haven't tried this one, but Vault City has got some good drinks that I do like. So that's that. There we are. So cheers guys, everybody that's here. And shout out to the hashtag replay crew. So I'm going to give this a bit of a sip because I haven't tried it. So cheers guys. Oh wow. It's not as sour as some of the other sour ones that I've tried. But definitely got a sour note there. Very, very jammy like it says. So RDTA on the Cooper 200 watt. Dual core Aliens 26 gauge 36 NI80 6 wraps 0.18 dual coil velocity style deck. So I have got this 60 watts, but I am gonna bump it up a bit more. I'm just gonna bump it up straight up to 80 watts. These tanks were built for power, especially like 100 watts or something like that. So these tanks were made for power. So So that's what it sounds like. Bit of a crackle, not much of a crackle. Let's see how this goes. Let's have a toot. That's still not bad. Excuse me. So there we are. So how are we doing above the clouds, Ian? What you vaping on, mate? Thanks for joining. So I'm going to pair it with this. So I think scones, Dark Star scones and strawberry fields probably go together. So let's have a two. Wow. Wow. So that juice has brought out more of the sour in the drink, and the drink has made the juice a bit more creamy. You still get the jamminess and the scone taste from it, but you're not. It's toned down a bit, and the more of the creaminess from the scones has come out, and then obviously elevated that sourness. So I'm still fully open all the way around the board. Juice flow is open to the full. It's not gurgling or anything or flooding. You're getting bubbles, so it seems to be wicking all right as well. 80 watts. You know what? Not bad. Not bad at all. Now, is it great flavour? No. I wouldn't say it was great flavour. Is it good flavour? Yeah. I mean, I'd happily vape on this just for nostalgia reasons. Now, I don't know if that's a bit too high for me, but for science, let me whack it up to 100, because these tanks were rated for 100 plus watts on them. Come on, focus. So 100 watts. Let's try it. I'm coughing at 80 watts. Let's see what it's like at 100 watts. All right, that tastes a little bit better bumping that up. But too much for me. I hardly vape over 100 watts these days. But it's wicking all right. There's bubbles coming up, so it is wicking all right. A bit of a dry mouth as well. It goes really well with that drink, that juice. Way too much wattage for me. I was nice at 80 watts. But like I say, I hardly ever vape over about 80 watts or even 70 watts these days. There we are, 80 watts. Do you even vape, bro? So let's try again. So it's not flooding in any way. It seems to be wicking just right. So like I say, just lay those wicks just over those holes and perfect. So a bit like the way the aromomizer works from Steam Crave, goes down and then goes under the coil. But with this one, when it came out, they also brought out this one, which is the RTA, which works just like a normal RTA. It doesn't feed you, it feeds your juice straight to your coils of your wicks, not underneath like this one does. But like I say, that's for a different stream and a different smoke mod as well. That's a lot better for me. So I don't know if it'll show up on the camera, but above the ohms just there is different strengths. So with this mod, you could have it normal, you could have it soft, normal, hard, or max. I've got it on normal. So a bit like what mods came out slightly after that with that preheat feature. So it'll kick it at say like 90 watts or 100 watts for that split second or two, and then go back down to whatever obviously you programmed it at. But normal, I think, just hits normally at 80 watts. So fully open. I'll close it down a quarter of the way. So quarter of the airflow is turned down. That's a lot better. That's a lot better. So I just want to check on a few things, make sure everything's all right. Stream's been all right, but before I started, I had problems with the connection. To restart everything, my phone, my computer, my TV, everything that I'm connected to, the Wi-Fi, because I'm not always looking at the camera, but I'm looking at two monitors. So one is obviously the Facebook Studio, and then the screen above it is what I can see obviously from my phone and stuff like that. That's elevated the flavour a bit. So like I say, used to be easy to build on with that velocity style deck. So I've closed off the airflow halfway. Yeah, halfway. Still at 80 watts. As you can see, it's wicking like no business. Let's have a two. That's all right. I think I prefer it more at a quarter full. Now I've got a bit of juice on there. The juice isn't from flooding or anything. I think it's just juice from my fingers and stuff. I want the light to see what I'm doing. So about a quarter of a way at 80 watts is perfect for me. Steve-O, thanks for joining, mate. How we doing, brother? So yeah, gorgeous. Cheers, my brother. I've got a sour beer here. Today's build was on the Smock RDA from 9 years ago, and the Cooper 200 watt, which was also made by Smock as well. The build that I did today was a 2-core Alien 26 gauge 36, and I'm vaping on some Dark Star scones. And seeing as that Steve-O's here, like I say, the best way you can support this channel is by liking and subscribing. Also, there's a pinned link at the top to buy me a coffee if you wish to do so. And anybody that does buy me a coffee gets a shout out on next week's show. So, I haven't done anything special, but I'm giving a shout out because Steve-O did actually buy me a coffee last week. So here's a little section of me here. Shout out to Steve-O. So if you don't know Steve-O, he's also got a vape channel as well. So go and subscribe. He does a live every Monday at midnight UK time. Okay, so thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Thanks for supporting the channel with your buy me a coffee there. I appreciate it. So anybody that does buy me a coffee will get a shout out like this on next week's stream. So again, Steve-O, thank you. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much. So it's only one there, but get a shout out nevertheless. So thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Yeah, that is all right. So, like I say, it's not amazing flavor by any means. There is a learning curve. Maybe I could get a bit more flavor. Maybe if my coils were a bit higher or a bit lower. But the way I've built it today is not great or amazing in any way. Is it good flavor? Yes, it is good flavor. I'm happy with the flavor. But I know the flavor of this juice, and I know it tastes better in a slightly better RTA or a better RDA. But the flavor's not disappointed at all at this. 80 watts is probably good. Just there for me. But these tanks were rated at 100 watts plus, especially with the TFV4. The TFV4 is what I think came out before these ones. They came out with a 22mm version and then, excuse me, a 25mm or 24mm version. And they were popular because back then, like I said, you had your Kangatech sub-tank minis and your Aspire Atlantis tanks were your sub-ohm tanks, and they were just normal coils, which the TFV4 was, but they did do an RBA section, which wasn't great, but obviously you could build your own coil on there. And then this iteration came out, the RDTA, and then, like I said, this one came out. They came out more or less the same time, the RDTA and the RTA, which was a bit weird why they brought out two. But like I say, they work very differently. This is the G4, so you put 4 coils on there. On this version, the RTA, it did come in 2 types, where you got like a velocity style deck with it, and the whole tank's just coming apart. So a velocity style deck, or what they call the G4 deck, which you put 4 coils on basically, which is this version here. And I don't know why it is stuck on, because I want to show you the deck. There we are. So that's the deck of the RTA. Come on, focus. So you'd put 4 coils on there, 4 posts. That has got an old build on from back in the day. That. Are you going to focus for me? So there. So they're just normal Claptons that I had on there. So a bit similar to like what your Griffin and your Sense Heracles, just 4 coils basically. But they did come in 2 types and a velocity style deck as well. But there is that version, the RTA version, just there. So this mod, like I said, worked like the X Cube 2 and obviously the other Cooper that they did, the 300 watt, the triple battery version. So you can use it in wattage, temperature modes, different wires. You can set your brightness and obviously different settings, how you want it to hit. Soft, normal, hard, or max. Bit like a preheat function on the tank. Yeah, that's nice. Velocity style deck, easy to build on. You can't go wrong. Let me just bump it up just a little bit more. Let me get it up to 85 watts. I've already got it up to 100 watts, but I think a bit more power might help it a bit. Oh, I think that might be a sweet spot there for me with that one. Yeah, definitely. 85 watts, normal hit on that is perfect. And it goes really well with that one. It's a sour. Now, the juice on its own, you can taste the sourness from it, but it's not thingy. But with the scones, it brings out the creaminess in the juice, but then also brings out the sourness of the drink as well. Yeah, definitely. So, anybody watching got any questions or anything? So, both of these devices, the RTA and the mod, is about 9 years. So, 2015, 2016 ish. And everybody went nuts on these RTAs because, like I said, there wasn't much about, and whatever was about was expensive. So, it was hard to have good RTAs and stuff like that where um, you can build on, and they were affordable as well. I think when the original TFE4 sub-ohm tank came out, I think they were about 20-30 quid, where back then if you wanted a nice high-end sort of a RTA or something, they were expensive. So that's where cloners were rife, because they'd obviously knock off, because companies only made a certain amount and they were expensive. And then the companies that used to make them or manufacture them used to rip them off by making clones. So, like I say, clones were rife. I do have clones. I have clones. I use clones. Some of the clones are just as good or sometimes even better than the authentic. But that's what it was back then. It's not like what it is now, where you can buy RDAs, RTAs, mods, and even mech mods under £100 or $100, depending on where you are in the country. Yes, Steve-O, that's the one that I've just shown you, that one. I don't know if you were here when I just opened it. Yeah, but the TFRTA is this one. And this is the TFRDTA is this one. But yeah, this is the one that I've just shown, Steve-O, with the 4 coils. So if you didn't see it, there, 4 coils, quad posts. But these did come in 2 versions, the G4, which is this, and the G2, which basically was like a velocity style deck. But the difference between the two is the RTA worked like a normal RTA, where the juice fed to your wicks like that. And then the RDTA, like I said, was like the aromamizer and stuff like that, where it'd go alongside the thing, feed underneath RDTA. But it depends what you define an RDTA as well. I know Aromamizer came out with the RDTA, but some people think of an RDTA with like an RDA on the top and a tank from underneath, which is basically the same thing. Really, it feeds from underneath the tank or underneath the coil. But like I say, the RTA G4 will be a completely new stream, and it'll be one hell of a stream. I think it will be for that tank, because just building it off camera is hard enough. So building it on camera, there's definitely going to be a long stream. So I'm trying to talk more about the stuff. I know I get a bit sidetracked. I've got ADHD and stuff, so I start thinking of something and thinking of something else. Then I forget what I'm doing. So you might notice on previous thingy, I won't talk much about it, but I'm trying to talk much about it. Obviously, it's about retro stuff and obviously coil building, my live streams. So if that's something that you're interested in or you like the content, please consider liking and subscribing. Sharing and also commenting. It helps with the algorithms. YouTube doesn't like vapors at the moment, so my videos won't be pushed. So liking and subscribing will obviously help that. And like I say, link at the top of the thingy if you want to buy me a coffee, and I will post a link in the stream after it's gone live on the thing in the comments as well, if you wish to do so on the replay crew. You're not obligated to do it, so if you don't, that's cool. I appreciate you all just joining and enjoying the content. That's the most important thing as well. And obviously teaching people obviously how to build coils as well. It's modern day. People buy coils off coil makers, which is good. They work hard, coil makers, to make you coils for you to just install into your devices. But also it can get expensive as well. So if you're into it, obviously I make my coils from scratch. You get a bit of knowledge of how to do different variants of coils. I tend to stick to ones that are popular and ones that I'm comfortable building, which is Aliens, staggered fuse Claptons, and obviously fuse Claptons. If that's something that you might be interested in me doing, just a simple build like a fuse Clapton, obviously comment down below or comment once it's gone live, or if you're watching it on the replay, and we'll go about just doing some simple coil builds as well, just simple fuse Claptons, because before I learned how to make Aliens, my coil was a fuse Clapton, which was 24 gauge, and 36 gauge was my coil of choice. Until I started venturing out. You see, my alien journey was weird. I started years ago making coils and I could just not get the hang of it. Couldn't get the stretch right, couldn't get my positioning right, it always messed up. So I thought, it's not for me, Aliens, so I'll stick with my fuse Claptons. But up until about 6 months ago, maybe a year ago, I've been practicing, and for some reason I've taken to it like I've never had a problem with it. But I did practice on thicker wire. I practice on 22 gauge or 24 gauge coils and 32 gauge as my outer wrap. Thicker wire because I had plenty of it, so I had plenty to play with. Just getting the stretch right, getting the feel right, obviously getting your angle right and stuff like that. If you can do that and practice on thicker wire, it'll give you that bit of that knowledge and that feel of how you pinch it, how to have your pinch, how to have your angle and stuff. And then as you get more confident, obviously start with thinner wires. I mean, my journey is weird and changes as well. When I first started doing my lives, I used to just use my core guide. And Dave Watman from Handmade Coils, some people might know him, he did suggest Lego, which I can't seem to find because obviously I don't need a lot of pieces and don't want to be spending a lot of money buying a couple of pieces of Lego. So I opted for key rings, which is simple, which I just went to a hardware store in the UK or even somewhere and just got a variety of different size key rings to use. Helps keep those wires parallel and flat so they don't overlap or collapse on you. And past few weeks, and obviously if you've stayed during the coil build as well, I can do it a lot quicker. When I first started out, I had to do it slowly because of the wire collapsing. But now I could do it without thinking, just using those simple things, a key ring, or you can use a paper clip or Lego pieces. Yeah, basically, Steve-O, yeah. It's a lot better. You've got more crevices in there in an Alien than you do in a normal fuse Clapton. Fuse Claptons are good, taste good or anything, but the Aliens have just got that edge on Fuse Claptons, because obviously that ridge that you've got making them, juice gets into your coils a lot better and cooks a lot better as well. But like Steve-O said, your decoy is just like making a Fuse Clapton. Obviously, like today's build, if you're adding a wire or taking away a wire, you do your decoy on a different size wire. If you're just doing a normal 3-core alien, you do your decoy off the same wire. Whether you're doing a triple alien with 24 gauge, 26 gauge, 28 gauge, if the 3 wires, you do it off the same size wire. So when you start adding wires and taking away wires, you use a different size D-core, which is normally 2 gauges up for every wire you take away, or 2 gauges down for every wire you add. So if you're doing a 4-core alien with 26 gauge, you do your D-core off a 24 gauge, because you need that slightly more room for it to fold over those 4 wires. But obviously stick with it. I'll do different variations and stuff. I've cleaned a lot of stuff today, a lot of RTAs and RDAs today. So there's going to be different coil variants. But like I say, if you want to see different coil builds, obviously not too complicated because I cannot do them at the moment, even though I'm practicing. But I just haven't got the edge on them. These coils, like I say, are more popular as what people buy. Aliens, staggered fuse Claptons, interlock aliens, and just normal fuse Claptons is basically what I'll stick to. But like I say, if you want me to do any just simple coil builds, like just normal Clapton builds or fuse Clapton builds, obviously comment in the comment section, and I'll go about doing a stream where just doing a simple coil build. Vapor production's alright, flavor's good, not great, but good. It probably won't be a tank that I carry on using. Now, I have carried on using this one from last week's stream because it's a Steam Crave, and I don't know, they've just got it on point. I mean, they still use their postless and velocity style decks, but it's one of those things, if it's not broke, don't fix it sort of situation. I think that's why Steam Crave, their tanks are just amazing just as they are. I know. You see, that's where I'm different, Steve-O. I'm not somebody who's good with liquid. Now, I have tried making liquid, and I probably will get better at it if I tried doing it more. It's just obviously knowing how much concentrate to use, what sweeteners to use, your measurements and stuff. I know it's a lot of trial and error, probably just like making coils, but it's just not something I've got into myself. Plus, I have people that make juice for me because I'm too picky with juice. I don't just buy juice unless I know what it tastes like, or I can taste it or test it. But yeah, I had a guy back in the day that used to make my juice for me. Started using Dark Star juice, and then another person that I do obviously test juice for and stuff. He makes my juice now for me because he knows how to make it. Flavor's always on point, and the flavor ratio is good as well, where it's not too strong with flavor, but it's not weak with flavor as well. But it's just something I would have to look into, and then obviously spend money getting concentrates and stuff like that. But with me, obviously with people that just buy coils pre-made off somebody, it's easy for them. And it's like that with juice for me. It's just easier for me, for somebody that knows what they're doing, just to make it for me. And plus, I tell him my ideas, he tells me his ideas, and I get to taste some of his juice that he's testing on. And obviously, I give him ideas. He makes me juices and stuff, and I'll buy them at a litre. I do have other juices, but I tend to buy stuff, obviously, in these small litre bottles. Small litre bottles. But I tend to do that with juice that I know that I like. Otherwise, it's just small one. Exactly. Yeah. Same with me. I've got friends that just I can't be bothered, and I'll happily make. I've got a friend that comes round that actually taught me what I know, but obviously lost it over the years. And he'll come and I'm like, "How long have you had those coils on there?" And he'll be like, "Since you made me them last time," and it might be months. And to be fair, he says the taste's good still, but I'll get my shit out and I'll make him up a coil, a fresh coil or a batch of coils and stuff like that. But even him, my friend, who's the one that used to make my juice, is even thinking about getting back into making juices as well. Because he misses making juice and I miss his custard. His custard was, oh, don't get me started on his custard. Probably the best custard I have ever tasted. And I've tried a lot of custards, and what I tend to look for in custards is, might sound weird, but being able to chain vape them. I've had custards that I've chain vaped, and after half a dozen pulls on it, you have to put it down and think, right, I need to give you a rest. You've gone a bit sickly. But his is just, it's so creamy and the ratio and everything's right. I can chain vape and not get sick of it. That's what I look for in a custard or in juices, basically. Is if it's one of those that seems to be that might be sickly, if I can chain vape it and not think, oh, it's too sweet, I need to give it a rest, I'm good, I'm happy. But yeah, there is some juice in there, but I probably will not fill it back up. It's not one that I'm going to continue using. I might play around with it, see if I can get the flavour a little bit better on it, but it's not something that I'm going to carry on using. But that might not be the tank, that might be just the way I've built it today. Or not what I remember. But don't forget, back then, this was the bomb, this was the shit. This was the tank to have. Compared to tanks now, and you think to yourself, did we really think this shit were good? You know, back in the day. And some of the stuff that I've got from back in the day still can compete with some of the stuff that's out today. I will say that. But this one, it's not the best, it's not the greatest build I've ever done on this tank. Or I just don't remember it being this bad, really. And that's just me giving it to you straight. John, you're always wanting me to chug it. Definitely a long way. It's like back then, velocity style deck was the thing to have on your RDA, RTA. Now it's all postless, where you just drop your coils in there, which is what it is all now. And still, some tanks and stuff to this day still adopt the velocity style deck, just like some MTL RTAs and stuff still adopt the same K-Fun style deck that was back in the day. It's a deck that's good. It's not broke, don't fix it sort of thing. So people don't change it. You know what I mean? I'm well, John. Thanks for dropping in, mate. I appreciate it. But yeah, I'm not going to chug it. I'm nearly at the end of this one anyway. This one's a sour. The Strawberry Fields by Vault City. Nice. So, cheers, John. Thanks for dropping in, brother. and airflow for days. These were one of those tanks as well that had big airflow, massive airflow, and people used to love it because, like I say, it was one of those tanks where you could run it at 100 watts plus, so you needed plenty of airflow and stuff. But I have got this just a quarter shut off. Well, I did have it a quarter of a shut off. Yeah, quarter of the way off at 80 watts, and I'm happy with that. All right, okay, not a problem, brother, not a problem. Yeah, I know, John, you're more fruity flavours. I know that. But like I say, there's so many stuff out there, it's decent to find a good juice. Because I'll say it, and I've said it in most of my streams, after TPD, juice did not taste the same. It's like they reduced the flavour on juices after TPD to keep up with some law. And then obviously certain ingredients were slowly removed because 10, 12 years ago they used to put diacetyl in juice, which they can't put in now, which wasn't really dangerous. You'd have to vape a lot, obviously, for it to have any harm to you. But obviously there was that as well, flavour enhancers and stuff. So I'll leave it there, guys. I won't carry on waffling on. I think I've said everything I need to, answered any questions that people might have. So, like I say, thanks for joining. Shout out to the hashtag replay crew. If this is the sort of content that you do like, please consider liking and subscribing. That would be much appreciated. Also, there's also an option to buy me a coffee to keep me behind this camera and keep bringing content to you as well. So not obligated to do so, but if you do, it does help as well, and you will get shout out on the following week's live. And I will just say, YouTube, this isn't a promotion video. This is just a look back on some retro gear that is currently not available now. So there won't be no links or anything like that. Don't give me a strike. Okay, so I'll leave it there. Don't worry about it, Steve-O. Thanks for coming, mate. So I will leave it there. I'm here every Wednesday, 8 p.m. UK time. I do post on social media. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, and stuff like that if you wish to do so. My main platform of choice is Instagram. So anything that I post is on Instagram first and also gets posted on Facebook automatically. So you can follow me on social media. Don't forget to follow Steve-O's YouTube channel. Also, the Vaping Brummy as well. He's got a channel as well. Go check his channel out. Give him a sub and everything. And he's also on social media as well. Instagram and Facebook. Go give him a follow as well. And, you know, thanks for joining, everybody. Love and respect. I have got a couple of clicks to do before I end. So again, thanks for coming, guys, and I'll see you next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. UK time, and I'll see you soon. Love and respect. Keep it cloudy, keep vaping, and I love you all. Thanks, guys.